The interesting thing I took out of this piece, and it's going to be a segue, a transition, to talking about Kristin Robbins and her candidacy for governor here in Minnesota, is he talks about the importance of uh, programming AI to have empathy, the empathy of a mother, maternal instincts. And I have to look at you and I have to say, really? Really? Uh, whose side of the football is this guy really on? Because if you think about uh, the way our world is, that'd be 50% of that would be from mothers.
Mm.
And it's pretty screwed up. In fact, I know a lot of mothers who have abused a lot of children. Um, I don't know that that's the answer. One might say mothers are rather imperfect in
Yeah.
their ability to raise their children. And as the children get older, the mothers certainly make choices of self interest. And he only was talking about evolution and how evolution did a great job of having a mother uh, love their children.
Yeah, and they think they can recreate it now.
Why not program the AI to believe in Christ?
Mm.
Why didn't they think of that one? Why didn't they think of that one? Well, that would be because they don't believe in God. So they're coming to an evolutionary outcome, which I have to say stands on rather um, impeachable grounds from my perspective. So I'm asking myself, who is this guy proposing this solution? Again, how do we know?
Yeah.
How do we know where he's coming from? Sounds good, doesn't it? Mother's love. Mother's love. Mother's love. All the mothers that love their children so much that they send them off to go die in foreign wars of discretion.
Yeah.
Because if mothers really loved their children so much, there wouldn't be any wars, would there? Since they have the vote. It would be impossible for the evildoer men to send sons off to die in wars and daughters to go off and die in wars if all the women were so hegemonically devoted to the well being of their offspring. Mm. I think I would be more prone to say, I need to love my neighbor as I wish to be loved. Thou shalt not kill. That kind of programming. Why don't they just go right to that?
Yeah.
Because wouldn't that work a lot better?
Yeah. I think I know the answer, and it's simply because then that would render military use worthless. Because
Oh,
if you sent it overseas and it treat your neighbor as you to be treated, they wouldn't kill any other.
wow. I guess we got a problem with our analysis here.
Yeah.
And that's a great transition into Kristin Robbins, who is a Minnesota State Legislature participant. She was elected. She lives up in Maple Grove. And let's say you're watching me from Ohio or from Nevada. You got a Kristin Robbins right in your state. And what is Kristin Robbins? Kristin Robbins is duplicitous. Now, Kristin, I know you're going to see this, and I just want to tell you, I don't know you that well. You might just be like sliced bread. You might be fantastic. I'm not taking a chance on you because I look up your history. And while just like Adam Schwartzy, it's possible that you've had a change of heart and a conversion of soul. It's possible. I'm not taking a chance on it. I'm not taking a chance on anyone that emerges with the kind of backgrounds that an Adam Schwartzy or a Kristen Robbins brings into the political theater because their background tells me who they are. Let's take a look at this picture of Kristen Robbins. Pop that picture up there, and we can use that for the thumbnail. Can you center in on that? Can you make that a little bigger?
Mhm.
Now I'm going to just make a statement, a personal statement, which when I do something like this, I'm analyzing myself as much as I'm analyzing the picture. And I'm looking at the energy in this headshot. I'm just looking at the eyes, the smile, the energy of the face. And you know what I see? I see something I don't like very much. It scares me. I don't understand it. It's supposed to be a happy face with a big smile, but the energy in the face is not warm. It's not friendly. It doesn't make me feel safe. In fact, it makes me feel on edge. Now, that's just me. I'm analyzing myself, but that's how I feel. Tanner, do you see that in that picture, or is it just me?
I can see it in the eyes. The eyes don't match the smile.
They don't, do they?
Yeah.
And if you could choose any headshot, that would have had to be the best they could come up with. I wonder what the discards looked like.
Yeah.
Okay, I've met this woman. I've been in the room with her several times. Uh, she doesn't give me the warm fuzzies, yet she has decided to run for governor. The word around the campfire was she was going to run for senator. But I think since her candidacy emerges right from the top, the first time I was in the, not the first time, maybe the third time I was in the room with this woman, she was there quite supportive of Tom Emmer, who was also in the room. In fact, everybody in that room but me had this look on their face like they loved Tom Emmer. I looked at all the faces. I said, "Ooh, this is a little scary. Feels a little cult-like to me." I don't know. I'm analyzing myself again. I'm not making any um, allegations. I'm just saying this is how it made me feel. And she was going to run for Senate, a United States senator. That was the rumor. And then she pops up running for governor. And I have to ask myself, why? Because she comes right out of central casting, right? Why would she run for governor? Well, that would be because the people that are running for governor, Scott Jensen, no, failed before. He's not going anywhere this time. Kendall Qualls failed before. He's not going anywhere this time. Brad Kohler, I don't know what Brad's doing there. He doesn't know what's going on. And then there's Phil Parrish, who's appeared on this show. And of course, Dr. Jensen, if you want to come on and prove me wrong, you're welcome. Kendall's really not welcome because he lied to me. But I think the constabulary looked at this and said, "Wow, Phil Parrish has kind of got a line to victory here. We better roll out a heavy weapon." Kristin Robbins, let's play number 7.
Brent and I loved raising our 3 girls in the western suburbs, cheering on soccer, softball, and choir, and teaching Sunday school. You know how it is, juggling school, dinner, practice, and homework, just trying to work hard, pay the bills, do right by our kids. I know that life as a working family is never easy, but failed politicians like Tim Walz are making it even harder. Tim Walz spent our entire $18 billion surplus in just 2 years, and he raised taxes by $10 billion, yet still managed to leave us with a huge deficit, crushing working families, seniors, and small businesses. Tim Walz's mismanagement of our state has created an epidemic of fraud, with criminals stealing hundreds of millions from Minnesota taxpayers and hurting our most vulnerable citizens. Tim Walz is a disaster and an embarrassment. He's obsessed with the radical culture war against our daughters, letting biological boys into girls' bathrooms, locker rooms, and sports teams. Walz even wants Minnesota to be a sanctuary state for illegals. The American people looked at Tim Walz and said no thanks. Minnesota should do the same. I'm running for governor to put your family first, for the minivan moms, the hockey dads, and the everyday Minnesotans who make this state work. In the legislature, I've led the charge to repeal the Walz tax hikes and cut taxes on families, seniors, and Social Security. I'm leading the fight to stop the fraud and hold government accountable. I'm working to strengthen our schools and support our police. As governor, I'll stop the insanity, bring back common sense, and make Minnesota work for you. Lower taxes, safer streets, better schools, and no more creepy experiments on our kids. I'm Kristin Robbins, and I'm running for governor because we need a common sense leader who will fight for you.
Kristin Robbins for Minnesota.
How do you feel about that, Tanner?
Hollywood magic.
Hollywood magic. Lower taxes, better schools, safer streets. What could be more predictable than that? Kristin Robbins is trying to portray herself as interested in your family, Tanner. She's just like you, got a husband and 3 daughters, just like you got a daughter and a family.
Yeah.
Don't you feel safe with that? And I'm going to tell you right now, Kristin Robbins has nothing in common with Tanner's family and nothing in common with my family. Now, of course, what I'm going to say is my best efforts to pick up information. I'm a researcher. I could be wrong, but I think her husband is a lawyer who works for one of the major corporations in this state. Uh, these people have nothing economically in common with the struggles of my family or the struggles of your family. Uh, a blatant attempt to align herself with the soccer moms and the hockey dads, an everyday woman, someone that we know we might see at the school dropping kids off. And it's time that we need to understand that you can have an R after your name, you can be right on guns, right on taxes, right on everything, and be completely duplicitous about who you are. Kristin Robbins is not telling me who she is. I had to look it up. Kristin Robbins was the founder and executive director, at least this is what it says online. And Kristin, you're welcome to come on here if I'm wrong. The executive director of an organization called the Economic Club of Minnesota. Now, doesn't that sound nice? The Economic Club of Minnesota sounds like a bunch of business people getting together to support each other. Like I could be involved in it. The Economic Club
Yeah.
for small business, middle market companies. We can all come together, get support. And that is not what the Economic Club is all about. You know, Republicans are allegedly about economic freedom. That is not what the Economic Club is all about. The Economic Club is about the elimination of economic freedom, in my opinion. Could you please go to that landing page number 8 and let's play the video that's just going to show right up there.
You have a very special thing here, as I've told some of you. There's a buzz, there's an excitement about your state that's just palpable, and I love it. And I love, the way you're able to come together like this and celebrate things like the importance of free trade, which to my mind is our nation's most powerful weapon.
I'm here in a room full of people who have done a lot of stuff, a lot of very. I was just listening to some of the experience of the people at the table, and I am impressed and in awe.
Today, trade represents nearly 30% of America's economy. 1 out of every 5 Americans' job touches trade. So trade's really important. But as somebody who spent most of their career, 21 years living in Asia and 30 plus years working on Asia, I can tell you that America, we're a rules-based country. We follow the rules. Not everyone does. And I think that's what's fueling a lot of this disruption, is that not everybody's playing by those rules.
It's always great for me to be back in Minnesota. This is I think the second time I've been at the podium here at the Economic Club. And those of you who might have remembered the Zoom experience we had December 17th, 2020, I had Amy Klobuchar and Tom Emmer on my show, the podcast, The Takeout, in which we talked about all sorts of issues then. So this is my third go-round with the Economic Club, so I'm very happy to be here.
Food and food insecurity is often not considered a political issue. And it's very difficult to get the G7 to include food security and agriculture on the agenda of the heads of state. It is always on the agenda of the agriculture ministers, the development ministers, but rarely ever, unless there is a crisis, on the political agenda.
The Economic Club of Minnesota's mission is to provide a world-class, nonpartisan forum for national and international leaders in business and public policy to discuss ideas that affect how Minnesota can better compete in the global economy. The Economic Club of Minnesota, engaging the world, strengthening Minnesota.
Kristin Robbins allegedly started this organization with Tim Penny right after she finished university. Executive director of the Economic Club of Minnesota sounds like a very impressive title, and it got Kristin Robbins in touch with some very powerful people. Could you please put up the board of directors of this organization, and let's scroll through and let the viewers and listeners come into contact with who Kristin Robbins is hobnobbing with in between her trips to the soccer field and the hockey rink with her 3 beautiful daughters. There's Tim Penny, former congressperson, co-founder and vice chair. Look at that, the current director, Neil Kashkari, chairman of the Minneapolis Federal Reserve. Let's keep scrolling down. Dr. Christine Cummings, vice president, former of the New York Federal Reserve. And going on down, there's the treasurer. We'll pass right on by that. Kate Kelly. What was she? She was in charge of a bank, PNC. She was the regional president. Oh, look at the next one. Martha Muffy McMillan, one of the owners of Cargill, the largest privately held company in the world, based right here in Minnetonka, Minnesota, a commodities and grain trading company, not just grain. And it goes on and on. There's Eric Paulson, a Minnesota congressperson who went to Washington, and right here from CD3, who trashed President Trump in 2016, which led to the demise of Republicans in CD3. It goes on and on. Look at this organization. Look at who these people are. Look at who these people are. You can go look it up yourself. Economic Club of Minnesota. This is the group of people that hired Kristin Robbins to run their organization, not for a day or two, for quite some time. So when Kristin Robbins says she's a soccer mom, I'm not saying she never went to a soccer game, but she's got nothing in common with you if you're a soccer mom, because you weren't hobnobbing with the chairman of the Minneapolis Federal Reserve, who, by the way, is a communist. You weren't supporting an organization which touts Amy Klobuchar and Tom Emmer getting on the same podcast as palsies, because after all, this is the center. And what is this? What were they talking about? What did John Huntsman say in that video that's on the landing page of the Economic Club of Minnesota? What did he say? Free trade is America's most powerful weapon. Free trade. You know, free trade has got nothing to do with America first. Kristin Robbins, I heard with my own ears, she supported Nikki Haley. She said it out loud with boldness and brashness and bravery. Has nothing to do with America first. She said, oh, I supported Nikki Haley until I didn't. Then I supported President Trump. No, you don't support President Trump, because you worked at a free trade booster organization for a very long time. And if you really believed in President Trump's economic agenda and his political agenda, you wouldn't work with people like this, because the split in our party and in this country is between the folks that believe in free trade, which is the gateway drug to one world government, and to the social credit score. You see, that's one side of the football. Free trade, one world government, the surveillance state, and the social credit score to save humanity. Yes, that's one side. That's the side of the football Kristin Robbins played on her entire adult life. Now she's, good on guns and good on taxes, and she's jumping up and down about fraud after the bank got robbed. That's not very helpful. It'd be nice if she jumped up and down about it bravely before the money got stolen, but we're going to leave that to the side. I'm just saying that's who she hobnobbed with. That's the organization she played with. And we have to ask ourselves, as Minnesota Republicans, are we going to get fooled like this? I mean, really, are we going to continue to get fooled by a beautiful woman who speaks well, who puts up images of herself as a soccer mom and a hockey dad, whose husband actually is a very prominent lawyer, if the words online are correct, working for a very prominent corporation, which is at the center of all kinds of issues, high income, certainly, and then try to show herself as having something in common with me? There's nothing in common between me and Kristin Robbins other than she calls herself a Republican. There's nothing Republican about what these people are doing. What these people are doing is globalist. You don't have to be a Republican or a Democrat to be a globalist, although most of the globalists are Democrats. Workers of the world unite, after all. This is the richest, most powerful people in Minnesota hiring this woman as a secretary as they go about promoting their one world government agenda. That's who she is, and her career. No, she may have had an epiphany, just like Adam Schwartzy. They may have had an epiphany. They could even tell me they had an epiphany. And on a personal basis, I would believe them. But not on a political basis, because these people lie. They're duplicitous. They're not disclosing. They're not disclosing at all, because Kristin Robbins says she supports President Trump, and that's duplicitous. She does not support President Trump. Everything she's been involved in in her adult life, her professional life with this Economic Club of Minnesota stands in stark contrast to the American First political and economic agenda of the Trump administration. So if we're Americans, if we're Minnesotans, and we have to make a decision about our future leadership, this woman shouldn't even be in the House or in the legislature here in Minnesota. She's completely duplicitous. She's ambitious, and she has a goal for herself. And she's been on the payroll of the wealthiest people in this society for a very long time. I don't want these kind of people. She may be a fine person. I don't know her. I'm not commenting on her. I don't know her. I'm looking at the circumstances, the outline of who she is, just like I did with Adam Schwartzy. I'm not going to take chances on these people, and I'm going to ask you to consider, are we going to take chances on people when they lie to us continuously? When they lie to us continuously. Like if we stand 6 feet apart from each other, it makes a difference. When we're lied to continuously, are we going to trust people that are aligned with other folks that are known to lie? She might not be a liar. She may have had an epiphany. And I say this, see my hand go up? I voted for George W. Bush. I did have an epiphany, and I have a long period of time with a big body of work where I'm very consistent in what I believe. And I believe in the well-being of the American people and of Minnesota citizens. I changed. I'm not running for office. If I jump up and run for office, some of you should question who I am. What are my bona fides? Have I really given up my job in show business? I'm a reform globalist. Is she a reform globalist? Is she going to stand up and attack the Economic Club of Minnesota from whence she came and criticize their policies? Because these are not the policies of the modern Republican Party. They are the policies of the Democrat Party and the globalists. And that's what we're sorting out here in Minnesota. And that goes for Kendall Qualls. And that goes for Adam Schwartzy. And if you don't like this, if this triggers you, if it makes you not like me, I'm okay with that. I'm just going to ask you before you start hating, start participating, go to the landing page of the Economic Club of Minnesota and do your own research if you like Kristin Robbins. Did you know that? Because I'm disclosing it even though she did not. She was duplicitous. She wants me to think she's a Republican. She wants me to think she's a soccer mom. She wants me to think she cares about my kids the way I care about my kids. And she doesn't. Because she's hanging around with a bunch of people that believe in shipping our jobs overseas and having a technocracy of technology that handles everything. Because that's who these people are. That's what they believe. And all you got to do is keep reading and reading and reading because they're nice enough to write everything down, even if they're paid or designated representatives like Kristin Robbins. Continue to be duplicitous. The people that run the deal, like at the Economic Club of Minnesota, lay it right out there. They lay it right out there, right out in the open.